All right, welcome everybody. We have Holly with us today, Holly Larson, who is a dietitian who has been a really amazing resource for dietitians. I think she came onto the scene for dietitians in a very unique way. She has been a writer publicly where you can see her name, and then also where she works as a ghostwriter. She works for working with blogs, email sequences, a lot of different avenues by which dietitians can make money writing. And I think as we were saying, both of us sort of came to this realization that, blogging and writing is certainly a wonderful job opportunity, whether it's a full-time job or a part-time job for dietitians and health professionals. And Holly is really, really, really good at it. She has learned the technique that is not just writing however we want. So like we learned in school to write technically or to give a research presentation, there's a certain format that you do that, but that's not the way that readers are going to be seeing your information in a way that they want to buy your product, buy your services, work with you as a dietitian. Holly has done a lot of work to understand what those specific skills and strategies are, and she's really, really good at it. She's got a course that she's going to tell you about as well, but she is giving us some really fantastic information today that I think that you'll find really, really interesting. And so I'm going to let Holly go ahead and hi, Holly. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, let me see if I can advance the slides. Let me see if I can do it. There we go. Okay. So here's Holly's information, and Holly Larson, and she has a website called Holly Larson Writes, where it has lots of really great information. And she is going to now present to us your topic.
So I think writing is such a great topic. I'm absolutely biased. So Stacey, thanks so much for having me here so we can talk about it. But I think that I can spare newer writers some common mistakes that people make right at the beginning. So today's presentation is all about that, how you can get started or feel more confident writing, because the kind of writing that we learned in school is just not compelling. It's not helpful for connecting with your ideal audience. So walking through and learning some of these mistakes and how to avoid them helps you to connect with who you help more quickly and more effectively. So let's go on. Great, we covered that. Let's go. So there I am. My name's Holly. I live in Oxford, Ohio. That's home of Miami University, not the Florida one. That's my awesome dog, Teddy. And I am very pregnant right now. I'm about to meet my son. He's coming soon. But my business is writing. I help other entrepreneurs, whether teaching them how to write or doing ghostwriting for them. So my clients are dietitians in business, and I do writing for them. And I just love it, which is a great thing about being a dietitian, is that there are a lot of ways to be a dietitian. It just took me a little while to find my place in the world. But writing is it, and I love helping other writers to feel more confident too. So the biggest mistake I think new writers make is to think that they don't know what they're talking about, when really you already do. We waste a lot of time waiting to get ready or to feel like you need permission or something, but there's really no amount of research that makes you feel ready. I think there are a lot of parallels between writing and dating. You just kind of have to put yourself out there, and it gets easier with practice. We don't want to make mistakes. We don't want to have someone tell us our writing isn't good. It's vulnerable to put yourself out there, but that's completely normal. That doesn't mean you don't belong and you're not an expert right now. So you get more confident and you get better and more comfortable with this with practice. But I'll also tell you that imposter syndrome, it doesn't really go away. When I'm working with a new client or a new kind of content, it is a little scary. I've just had more practice with doing things that feel scary, that I recognize it as normal and just do it anyway. So just jump in. The next most common mistake is writing stuff that's just really boring. Sometimes we write things and it seems like it's what we should write or seems more professional or something. But truly, we need to engage and connect with our readers in order for them to get to know us and to trust us and then want to become our clients. So sometimes it's imposter syndrome, actually, that first mistake that's influencing the second mistake, that if we sound really sciencey, we think that people will trust us more. It's not necessarily true. If you confuse people, they don't know you. So we can explain complicated things in an approachable way, and we can inject who we are with a sense of humor. And that's a good thing because you are the perfect person for the people that you want to help. So the more authentically you can show up and write interesting copy, the better. All right. Here is another really common mistake. It's not having a call to action, which is often abbreviated CTA. As dietitians, we tend to be really comfortable teaching. We want to help. And we think that just by having this really funny, engaging, interesting thing out there, that then our readers will connect the dots between such a good blog and I have got to work with this person. They don't. We need to be told what to do next. So be calm, be confident, and end each thing that you write with one call to action. What do you want them to do next? So sometimes, like if you're a dietitian doing one-on-one nutrition counseling, maybe your call to action is to ask them to book their call to get to know you. Maybe it's to download an ebook so that they join your list. Maybe it's to click over to another blog to read something. But what you want is for your readers to be in motion and getting to know you, and you need to tell them directly what to do next. If they have read through your entire blog from beginning to end, they're interested. So don't leave off without that call to action of what you want them to do next. Calm, confident, and just one. Okay, so sometimes writing is about the words, and some of the parts of what makes good writing good is how it looks. So you can have the best words in the world, but if you format them into one dense chunk, most people are going to skip right the heck over it and not read a single word. So formatting really influences how people digest and appreciate your writing. So a common mistake is to have these big chunks of text because that's how we learned. So short paragraphs, 1 to 3 sentences max. And yes, it's really okay to have a single sentence as a paragraph, I promise. Use bullets and numbers, and once in a while do bolding and italics, but not too much. So I like to picture my readers in line at Target, reading each blog post that I write on a cell phone. They're distracted, they're on a phone, and if they open up a blog post and it's just a big chunk of text, they're just going to click out. They don't have the focus for it. So having really accessible formatting helps your readers to get more out of what you're sharing. Here's the SEO one. SEO stands for search engine optimization. Basically, it's just playing nicely with Google. Now, you don't need to know everything about SEO to get started, but knowing some of the basics helps your blogs to work harder for you. Now, I promise if you can make it through school to be a dietitian and for your organic chemistry test, memorize the Krebs cycle and then promptly forget it, you can also learn some SEO. You don't need to know everything. I don't know everything. but you do need to have a little bit of an appreciation for some of the aspects of SEO so that your efforts get more mileage. Things like some basics about keyword research, having a user-friendly website, and just writing good content is measured by Google so that they're presenting the best stuff for people who are looking for information. So you can't ignore it. It's there, but don't jump into perfectionism that you have to know everything. Because I don't either. Mistake number 6 is researching too much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not writing a dissertation. We're writing a blog most of the time. So let's dial back our expectations. It's not going to win an award. It's just a blog. So we can make it help your business grow. It's important, but let's keep it within the context of what it is. So cite important things, get some studies in there. We do need to be evidence-based, but most of the time spending hours upon hours of research is actually just a cover up for imposter syndrome. So get out there and publish it. A draft is not helping your audience. Here's another one. Thinking that your first draft is going to be a good draft. It's not, and it's totally fine. Mine aren't good either. It's just part of the process that you start with something, get it fleshed out a little bit, come back and look at it again and make it better. If you're trying to write your first draft and edit your first draft at the same time to make it good, you're going to get very little writing done. So just get a crummy first draft, come back later. It's probably not as crummy as you think it is, and then make it better. Writing is a skill that you learn. We don't bake well the first time. Most of the time, we don't ride rollerblades well the first time. It takes practice. So give yourself a little patience and grace as you hone these skills. But no matter what, that first draft is just a first draft. This is considering your niche, which is sometimes a scary thing as a newer entrepreneur because we want to help everybody. But the problem is good writing speaks to a specific audience. If you're trying to speak to, it's like having a party. If you have someone over for a party with flag football in the yard and a seance and a tea party in the kitchen, that's kind of a weird combo. Even if you like all of those things, your guests might not like all of those things. It is better to be specific to exactly who you want to help because you can connect with them better. So it can feel a little scary to narrow your field of focus, but I promise it makes your writing much better. If you are interested in writing as part of your business, awesome. Writing, we need more dietitian writers out there. We do. Job boards are a place to get started. You don't want to stay there because most of the time this is a race to the bottom in terms of what they're willing to pay. I started my business by cold emailing my clients. And now I get my clients by referrals because I have enough happy clients that I get referrals that way. So Upworks and those kind of job boards are a good place to cut your teeth. You never need to write for free, even if it's your first piece. But use those as a place to get started and cold email and ask for referrals from your happy clients. And once again, you do not need to work for free. It's amazing what people ask artists and writers. You'll get good exposure or things like that, but exposure does not pay the bills. you're an expert. You wouldn't ask your plumber to do that or your dentist, and we don't need to ask our writers to do that. So what you charge is personal. There's a lot that goes into what you want to charge. You need to continue to raise your rates. That's normal. But the fact that you're a registered dietitian carries a lot of weight, both in the eyes of your clients and in Google's eyes. And so don't undersell yourself. And I do have one bonus tip. So the topic today is mistakes to avoid, but I also want to balance that with you're still going to make mistakes. That's completely normal. So if you feel like you're not actually making mistakes, you're probably playing it pretty safe. I've had a great year in my business, but part of getting ready for this next year is looking at the mistakes I made, because I sure did make those, and seeing how to have this next year be even smoother. But making mistakes is just part of the process. So I hope this was helpful and fun. If you're interested in learning more about writing, I'll invite you to join the writing course that I have created. What the feedback I'm getting so far from students who are in it is that they like the organization and that the modules are really short. So even if you don't have a ton of time, you can work on things. You get access to a private Facebook group to ask questions. We're going to do some group writing challenges together to encourage everyone's accountability moving through the course. And once you join the course, you do get lifetime access. So I will continue to add new content to the course over time. And once you're in, you're in. But it's all about how to write in a way that helps your business to grow and to connect well with your audience.
Holly, thank you so much for all of that juicy juice on writing. Like that was, I have 1,000 questions, and I've had access to your amazing course. That is, I just want to give a plug for that course, that it's very actionable. It's sort of like a workshop for me. I think there's a lot of places where you have us get out the paper and the pen and really take a moment and put into action what we've learned sort of didactically. So it's super, super valuable. You're a really great instructor. I'm going to address some questions that I have from our audience right now, but I was going to ask one quick question for myself. One thing I've noticed about you as a writer and the writing that you do is this positivity that comes out of you. There's like this friendly confidence I always talk about for job interviewing. And I noticed that you have this friendly confidence that I feel like it sort of exudes into your writing. And I'm wondering, when you do write, when you do sit down, is there something, or a little set of systems or rituals or habits that you have when you do sit down to write that really create this positive, this just really nice style of writing?
Gosh, that's such a nice compliment. Thank you, Stacy. I'll tell you, it's a lot of mindset work, actually. And that is what I think will surprise a lot of students when they start the course, if you join, is that the first module is about mindset work. Because what you're telling yourself and what you believe about yourself really influences how you show up in interviews and in writing. So I don't know that I've always been able to show up in writing that way, but it has come with practice and mindset work to be able to continue to grow my confidence and my voice.
That's really good advice. I just imagine you walking into your writing room, sitting at your desk, and you're just putting this big smile on your face and just going to work. Like, so I think that's helpful for us. Some of the other questions I have received are related to the length of the postings, of the blog postings, whether they should be 500 words or 1,000 words, or maybe you can talk a little bit more about how long each of the blog posts should be. Well, we could talk about blogs, and we could also talk about like emails, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on that.
Good question. There's not really a hard and fast rule, and sometimes these kind of questions are a little controversial. So I'm always a little skeptical when people are like, this is the one answer for writing. Just like if someone said that about nutrition, like usually there's nuance and it depends on the situation. I'll say in general, Google is prioritizing who they show up on page one with longer and longer articles because they tend to be more thorough and more complete. So Google looks at, do people just come to your blog and then immediately leave, indicating it's not very good, it's not thorough, it's not really answering their question. So what you want is for whatever you're writing about, for it to feel decently complete. So as a very general line in the sand, I like to not have anything be shorter than 1,000 words. Mm. But even that is not black and white. But in general, if you would like a number. But my answer is also guided by keyword research. So part of my process is trying to make content that performs well for Google. And so for each keyword that I'm targeting, I'm looking at the competition for that specific keyword. And so sometimes the other articles on page one are 1,000 words. So you don't need to write as long of an article to compete. But sometimes they're all 3,000 words. So you know that in order to get into that game, you need to write a pretty meaty post. So part of the answer is just, is this a complete answer to the topic that you're talking about? But also, how is it in relation to the competition for similar posts?
Good. That's a great perspective on that. Another question that came through is, on the call to action. I think this was something sort of eye-opening to me in writing emails or writing blogs, that I want to give my readers, my audience, all the information that they need. Lots of information. Here it is. You're gonna be great. Get this new job. You're gonna be awesome. Here's all these resources. And I think what I learned from the course was the concept of a singular call to action and how important that is. And can you talk a little bit more about that?
If anyone is confused reading, so it's like, picture someone driving in their car and they get to an intersection that goes 4 different ways. And the directions are like, turn right, but do they mean slightly right or very right? So they're not going to start driving until they know exactly where they're supposed to go, because they've been presented with 4 options. But if you're at a stop sign and the directions say, now turn right, that's not confusing. It's a 4-way intersection. You know exactly what to do. Then they're comfortable and confident to take action. The more we throw things, that tends to be, one, us trying to be like an over helper. That's not a bad thing. But again, that could sometimes be a cover up for imposter syndrome. Be like, you won't know I'm faking it if I give you more and more stuff. Whereas just take a deep breath, be calm, tell them the one next thing that you want them to do, and they won't be confused. They'll feel comfortable and they'll do it.
That's such great information. That's why you're such a great expert on this. But I like also what you said about, we're writing from the perspective of our audience. Just like when you're giving a talk, you think about who is your audience and how do you want to say certain things, or what content do you want to provide for them, or how do you want them to leave the room after you've given a talk. The same goes with writing, right? Like thinking from the perspective of who's reading it, what's their situation likely, and how are they going to respond to the structure, the format, the when do I bring up this, when do I bring up that, which I think you make really clear in your words in the course. And I think you really make that something that we can all do as well and learn from and be successful, right? I mean, I think the bottom line of all the writing is to have people be able to get more clients, like, just like the title of what your work is it's not just to read your blog post, but it's to like read your blog post about how to make more high protein breakfast entrees, right? It's to not just get that information, but it's then to work with you individually as a dietitian and have this one-on-one relationship or the group package or whatever it is, so that they can have better service. So, right, like the writing is the sort of the appetizer to your services, or the amuse-bouche to your services. And I think what you're showing us is that the direction we write, the format, when we say things, all of that can really change from people just reading our work to actually wanting to work with us and actually be with us and become a client, an ongoing client. So that is really helpful. I appreciate that. One other person. So another question we had is about paying forward. So the question is how to get dietitians to pay well for writing. It seems that they rely on dietetic interns to sort of get around having a small budget. I know this could be an entire conversation about how to make more money as a nutrition writer, but maybe Holly, you can give a couple tips on that.
Yeah. It comes down to mindset too, actually. When I started writing for other dietitians, I don't actually know of other writers who were doing similar work. I know more of now. But someone who I was asking for advice, actually another writer, she said to me, "Oh, there are no dietitians who will hire you." And I was really deflated. I thought, oh my gosh, I thought this was such a good idea, supporting dietitians in business. I've had a private practice. I've had all these different experiences that I get to draw from as a writer. And she was pretty dismissive. Turns out there are plenty of dietitians who want to hire me. So I would say, don't let their limited mindset limit your mindset. You don't need 1,000 clients. You need a few. So if you found some dietitians who, whether that's what they want to work with students or that's what their ability is to work with students right now, they're just not your clients right now, and that's okay. There are dietitians who would love to hire you. I promise.
No, that's good. Ollie, I have another question back over to the call to action topic. And is it good? The question is it good to write from the call to action?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Is it good to write from the call to action? I think what they're saying is, so you have a call to action. Let's say, work with me one-on-one. Should that be like the theme of your blog post or your email, or should you have some other angle for it first? Should you have a story about maybe a testimonial, or a story about how someone felt after they didn't have to be on medication after, working with you for type 2 diabetes or something?
I think either can be good. So it needs to be interesting. And one of the lessons in the course is practicing calls to action. So you can't just say, here's my ebook, please give me your email for it. Because no one's going to do that. People are very protective of their email. I am too. So you need to, I think it's important to include value. So download this ebook so that you are not confused about what to feed your kids for breakfast. If you work with parents, that's a pain point of parents, of how in the heck to get out the door in time for school with something in their kids' bellies that they're not worried about. Or I have the answers to help you understand your autoimmune condition when the doctor has just said you'll be on medications for forever. Let's chat. So you can't just say, call me, download my ebook. So it needs to be a little more interesting than that, and show the value of how you're working to help them and what their life can be like afterwards. Testimonials are great. So if one fits, I tend to put those more within the body. That tends to feel more of a natural flow of if you're weaving those in. But there's not a right or wrong answer. But I would say end with that good call to action, lead with a value, and don't confuse them with 7 calls to action.
Yeah, that's so helpful, Holly. Like it's just, when you explain it and you direct us and show us how to do that, it totally makes sense. and just having your formal guidance is very, very helpful. So we are so appreciative of your words and your expertise. As Holly mentioned, she's got this fabulous course, the writing for health professionals, for dietitians. And she's got a coupon code that I will include in an email I'll send out following. She's going to give me that so that you guys can get a discount on that as well. And yay! Yeah, exactly. And speaking of courses, I have to plug mine as well. And just to make sure you guys know, if you want to get better at LinkedIn, if you want to get better at writing your resume, I've also got a job interviewing course that is being updated, and that's coming out as well. So sign up for that if you want to. Of course, we always have the resume templates as Canva downloads and also as a Word document that you can use with my proven method that is super, super valuable, a way that recruiters like to see what your resume looks like, and they can really understand who you are and what your value is. We've got the ongoing workshops, the monthly workshops, so sign up for that if you get a chance, and do download the LinkedIn checklist so that your profile is modern and shiny and checks off all the boxes to be an all-star status with LinkedIn. And you can find that on Instagram. You can find that on LinkedIn. You can also find it on my homepage on nutrition jobs on the top right there. You can navigate over to that. So definitely do that. And of course, we have lots of these educational programs on YouTube, different ways that dietitians can make money. There's so many different ways. You don't have to be just clinical or just community or just research. Like I learned when I graduated, there's so many different opportunities, and I like to highlight different dietitians who have done really amazing work helping us. So B2B and also B2C, just learning how to make more money as a dietitian. And I think that's all I wanted to say. Well, you can always connect with me. You guys already know that part, but thank you so much, Holly. This was really, really wonderful. You're getting lots of really beautiful comments to thank you for this anonymously and publicly. So Holly, thank you so much for your work. And I look forward to our next LinkedIn Live event with all of my community on LinkedIn. All right, everybody. Bye for now. Thank you so much.